Good morning, everyone. We'll get started here in just a couple minutes. I hope everyone's doing well. We're excited to have you here today and to get going. Good morning, everyone. Hope you are doing well. We're excited to begin today. We got a few people still arriving in the waiting room. Um, as I've joked several times, and you're all very used to hearing me say, everybody waits until exactly the second of the beginning to join. We're excited to have everyone. So we'll give everyone just a couple more seconds a couple more minutes to arrive. People are still arriving in droves, so just give it a second.
Okay, I had to make sure my Zoom was working. Is it working?
Yes, Kenny, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is my mom's like Zoom account. She's a little backstory. She's a yoga instructor, so that's her picture on there. Her name. Just my name's not Soraya. Just letting you guys know that. Okay, so we're gonna begin and call order. Okay. I now call the session to order. Good morning, and welcome to the joint session for this year's State of the State Address. We'll begin this morning with the introduction of our supporting and presiding officers. Please join me in recognizing each group as they help make our conference great this week. Our cabinet members and officials, our conference life committee, our committee chairs, and finally, welcome our 2020 presiding officers. Now please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This morning, we have the incredible privilege of carrying on a 84-year tradition of being welcomed to the chambers of New York State Capitol. In 1936, New York Governor Herbert Lemmon invited Youth in Government founder Clement Duran to bring his high school YMCA HIY students to the Capitol for the Model Assembly session. The event was so successful that Governor Lemmon told Duran that he would hold the event himself if the YMCA did not agree to host this program. And thus, Youth in Government was born. And now, to give her State of the State address, please join me in welcoming Youth Governor Molly Bowerman.
Thank you, Kenny, and thank you, Drew, for setting this up. My fellow delegates, good morning. Today is what you have all been waiting for. Months of practice, a week of committees, long nights spent researching bills or cases. Today is the day we can truly exercise the power of our voices. The bills that you pass today might go on to be signed and then sent to the legislative officers of our representatives and senators for review and possible implementation. 50 current New York State laws that govern our state had their origins in this program. Before they even graduated high school, those bill sponsors left their mark on history. They changed the lives of the almost 20 million people who call this great state home. Now, my question for all of you is, what's stopping you from doing the same? What stands between you and passing the laws that this state needs? What will you do today, tomorrow, and throughout your lives to make this state better? Today, act with a sense of urgency. with a passion to correct historic wrongs and protect the future from repeating those mistakes. Do your best to promote reform, empowerment, and progress. Today, let us reform the broken systems that keep our fellow New Yorkers trapped in cycles of poverty and crime. Reform the housing systems and education systems that make Long Island one of the most segregated areas in the nation, and keep our communities separated by our differences rather than uplifted by our similarities. Reform the systems that resulted in Black and Brown New Yorkers dying of COVID-19 at rates much higher than their population and much higher than whites. The school to prison pipeline and the prison industrial complex are two of the biggest offenders against the Black and Brown communities of New York, as our current justice system punishes minorities for nonviolent offenses at rates much higher than whites. Huge prison corporations see prisoners not as people, but as profit. And as a result, New York State incarcerates more people than many wealthy democracies around the world. These systems are broken, but they are fixable. Fixable if we begin to treat our prisoners with respect and dignity, as proposed in Bill AL-10, amending Article 22, Section 623.2 of Correction Law to require the state to provide free domestic telephone service to individuals within the custody of the Department of Corrections. Fixable if we embody the ideals of most other industrialized nations, which use prison systems as areas for rehabilitation rather than punishment, as proposed in Bill AF-18 to amend Section 70.70 of the New York State Penal Law to mandate the rehabilitation of minors convicted of possession of controlled substances. I extend my endorsement to these bills in an effort to begin to repay a debt that this state owes to our struggling communities, in an attempt to lift our most vulnerable out of the gripping cycles of crime and poverty, and to promote reform. While we reform the broken systems of our government, we must empower those who it has wronged. As our leaders face accountability, our people must experience growth, opportunity, and empowerment. Bill AF-19, an act to amend Section 2.20 of the New York State Criminal Procedure Law to state that New York State law enforcement agencies cannot detain, arrest, or investigate individuals for immigration enforcement purposes, will protect hardworking immigrants from unreasonable detentions. New York, a state of immigrants, the home of Ellis Island, will not be complicit in the disgusting xenophobia of the current administration. I endorse this bill with the hope that New York State becomes a sanctuary state, a space where the most diligent, patriotic members of our society live without fear until our federal government creates a fair, efficient path to citizenship. With protecting our vulnerable comes simultaneously giving a voice to the voiceless. The next generation, those who shall inherit this great state, must wait until long after laws begin to affect them to have their voices heard. Our youth face political strife and an age of information which leaves them far more knowledgeable, far more mature, and far more concerned than any previous generation, and yet are disenfranchised. I am therefore endorsing Bill SL01 to amend 5102 of Article 5, Title 1 of the New York State Election Law to lower the minimum voting age for local elections. Our voices must be heard. Our votes must be counted. Our citizens must be empowered. Only when we reform our systems and take action to empower our most vulnerable can we truly embrace progress. We, as New Yorkers, have seen the dire consequences of not believing scientists. 6+ weeks on lockdown, 20 million unemployed, hospitals lacking equipment. Some days it feels as if we are living in a dystopia. But this situation is real. As real as the fact that we could be entering the greatest economic downturn since the Great Depression. As real as our warming temperatures and rising sea levels. New York led efforts to social distance. And now, as we begin to reopen, we must lead efforts to bring this state, this nation, and this world out of the pits of economic despair. In order to safeguard the future, we must look to the past for guidance. How did New York Governor DeWitt Clinton make New York an economic powerhouse in 1825? He built the Erie Canal. What did Roosevelt do to create jobs and elevate our standard of living in the 1930s? He created the Tennessee Valley Authority and the Public Works Association. How did Eisenhower push the United States to the forefront of economic development and connectivity? He passed the Interstate Highway Act in 1956. How have Asian and European countries combated times of economic upset? Massive infrastructure projects that create jobs and make society more efficient. New York was the epicenter for the COVID-19 crisis. Now we will be the epicenter of economic growth and infrastructure innovation that will save this country from mass unemployment. New York's infrastructure is vital to our nation's economy. Tunnels coming in and out of New York City carry as much as 20% of this country's GDP every day, but haven't been renovated in over 50 years. We must repair the tunnels and roads that our state and nation rely upon. We must create jobs and ease the commutes for the existing ones. But in true New York fashion, we will not just emulate the aforementioned historic infrastructure plans. We will improve upon them, and we will be better. From now on, New York will be the pioneer of green ecological infrastructure. We will fund scientific research in our world-class institutions. I hope to sign Bill SL 10 to amend Section 12102 of New York State Consolidated Energy Law to require a percentage of renewable energy in all houses. The fiscal costs of bills like SL 10 are far outweighed by the benefits of high-paying jobs, environmentally friendly infrastructure, and inspiring nationwide change. I hope to also sign Bill SLSF 10 to add Chapter 60, Article 20E, Section 500 to the Consolidated Tax Law to place a 3.5% excise tax per pound on the sale of red meat. We need smart, unique bills like these that push the envelope, that do what was previously thought to be impossible. We must encourage a shift in our political discourse. We will no longer push climate change under the rug. We will no longer let superstorms and hurricanes devastate our great state and endanger our citizens. We will not wait for the next flood, the next record-breaking heat wave, the next pandemic to take action and lead. We are New York. We are the future. We are the ones that will lift this country and this world out of recession by investing in our infrastructure and environment. We are progress. I urge you all to remember what you are fighting for today: reform, empowerment, and progress. These are values and goals that we can achieve. The bills I endorse today will help us achieve these goals and build a better New York for our children and grandchildren. Let us heal the wounds of the past by creating a promising future. Let your youth, your passion, and your optimism change the tone of political discourse to one of respect and hope. If you can do that today, tomorrow, and throughout your lives, then the state of the state will continue to be hopeful, promising, and bright. My fellow delegates, fulfill the greatness I see in all of you today. Good luck.
Feel free to unmute yourselves so we can have some applause from Ollie's wonderful speech. All right. Thank you, Molly, for your State of the State. At this time, I will answer any questions anyone has before we begin our day. If you want to put any questions in the chat, or if you don't have access to the chat, you can unmute yourself really quick. Does anybody have any questions? You should have received the links in your email, and I'll be sending out another email this morning with invites to your specific program rooms.
Is this going to be a Google Meet or a Zoom?
Zoom will only be used for the opening and closing ceremony. Everything else is Google Meet. So your chambers will all be in Google Meet, or yeah, will all be in Google Meet. Any other questions, concerns? All right. Hearing none, I believe that would turn it back over to Kenny for our dismissal.
Okay. We're now ready to dismiss into our program areas. So please report to your respective calls. Thank you, guys.
Have a great morning, everyone. Check your email, and if you have any issues, just let me know. Thank you all for being here. It'll be the same link tonight for the award ceremony.